Hi friends! This is Dainty Tank. Thank you for joining me. Welcome back to First Snow. This is the start of Act 2 of this game. It is free to play indie game. Put out, I think it's Salty Studios is the developer. It's really cool, and as you can tell, very artsy. Loving it so far. Essentially, the story revolves around, poke the Totoro in the upper eye card area to see the first part. Then you wouldn't have to listen to me explain what Act 1 was. Act 1 is cute. Go check it out. So, we're following Allison, who is still kind of trying to adapt to community college and the fact that she is away from friends and family from her high school days, and also trying to kind of figure out her own self in the world, which is cool. And her friend, I think Patrice, who is deciding, hey, I don't like the existing art club, let me make my own. And so she is with scary dog Elaine, who was beating up a vending machine. Also, I want to know how Allison knew how to input the code for the maintenance mode to drop what she wanted. That's what I want to know. Okay, let's get into this. Load. Daily bread. Okay. The Saturday's morning air is brisk as I stagger back from the supermarket, hands full with bags. The apartment itself may be nothing to write home about, but certainly in a good location. That's great. I was about to say, location cannot be more important. I still don't feel like I've been pulling my weight when it comes to daily life with Rose, her friend of family who she's kind of bunky with almost. But at least I can help with errands like groceries. Her attempts to teach me handiwork skills have been less successful. Even this much has been a learning experience. My parents usually do the shopping back when I lived with them. Get it, Rose. Reaching the apartment, I find Rose crouched outside and working on her motorbike. She looks perfectly content as she whiles away her time with tools spread around her, as if a child happily playing with their favorite toys. That's fair. Working on the bike again? Oh, hey, that was quick. She delivers herself up with a grunt before pulling back the edge of one bag with a finger to peer in, then another. I'm a little worried as she checks out for my work. Having to hold my breath as she does isn't exactly helping. I'm still not used to the acrid smell of her smoking. But maybe that's a good thing? Good work. Everything we needed, and no weird impulse buys. Did we need more window cleaner, though? You said to grab necessities if they're on sale and don't spoil, right? You're learning. Could you help me down here once you've put everything away? I need another set of hands. Without anything in particular planned for the day, I agreed before heading inside. The rickety stairs creak as I slowly head up with groceries in hand. I love the sound effects. Great job there. Fiddling with the door handle. My arms are thankful for the relief once I manage to drop the bags in the apartment after opening the door. Oh, that's cool. Oh, it's a bread box in the corner. Opening the fridge, I get to work stuffing in the frozen and cold items first. Next, I open the cabinet doors and start ladling in cans and boxes. As the empty shelves fill, I get an odd sense of satisfaction from caring for myself. Living as an adult is busy work, but it's rewarding in its own way. There's an odd and unexpected feeling of accomplishment from doing even simple tasks. I'm sure it'll wear off in time, but I'm holding on to it for now. Good for you. With the job done, I close the cabinets and back up to look around the room. The apartment is barely any warmer inside than out. Suppose there are downsides as well as upsides. Putting it out of my mind as best I can, I head back down to Rose. Ayo. Slipping back outside and closing the door behind me, familiar clings and bings carry on in the air as Rose still works away. Pass the rag, would ya? Quickly take a seat near her on the patch of cleared snow, grabbing one of the torn up pieces of old shirt and handing it to her. Seems to be cleaning out some part of the engine or another. Anything interesting happening at school? Not really. The schoolwork isn't too hard so far. A friend wants to start a club. A club, huh? That's cool. What kind? An art club, apparently. I'm not really sold on it, though. I need to study, and she basically came up with the whole idea by herself. Rose passes the rag back and puts the part in place, motioning for me to hold it while she wrenches it back in. After a few grunts, the job appears to be done as she puts the wrench down with a clank, turns back toward me. Life's not about studying. I know you're a teacher's pet back in high school, but you could stand to be a bit more social. Get out of my house a little bit more. Just saying. So it's this again. This is another downside of living here. With so much of my time spent alone with Rose, there's, for better or worse, no easy way of escaping her questioning. I know she has my best interest in mind, though. I'm glad to have someone around to help me get the grips of with adult life, even if I did find her intimidating at first. I can't tell why. What was your college life like? Never had the chance to go. I'm left a little surprised as she gets back to her bike. I've only known Rose for a couple of months now, so I'm still finding out new things about her all the time. Maybe you get why I'm on your case about this stuff now. Not everyone gets the chances you have, so make the most of it. Go to parties, get some friends, and find a boyfriend sometime. Even if it doesn't last, it'll be a start. My family always pushed me to put such things aside and focus on my education, so that's what I did. The simplicity of life back then suited me just fine, and it worked out well going by my scholarship. Yeah, that's the thing. I was never really interested in boys because I was so caught up learning, is what I'd like to say, but I'm honest enough with myself to know that's not the whole story. Oh? Ooh. Seeing Aline last week reminded me of that. Women like her keep catching my eye. And then there was that painting of hers. As time goes on, the difference in what I like looking at gets harder and harder to explain away. I think that is such a good way of, introducing that feeling that so many in the LGBT community have, just I sure am focused on studying. It's totally that. Look at the woman. Don't look at the woman because you're focused on studying. It's fine. And then you try and come up with explanations of, I just think she's cool and I'd like to be her. No, it's you'd like to be inside her, and it's a little bit different there. Rag, Allison? Good jump there. I hastily place a rag in her outstretched hand, Rose using it to try and rub some of the oil and grease off her hands. I'm sure she wouldn't mind if I'm not straight, if that's truly the case. Well, I'd like to talk to her about it. I can never quite seem to find the right time. You're right. Yeah, I was just thinking about how life is complicated. Sure is. Hey, you bought that ice cream I asked for while you were out? It's in the freezer now. Why? How about we have some? Can use a treat after working all morning on this thing. She has strange ideas about what makes a good dessert in the cold of winter, but I'm not going to stop her. As two of us start packing up, another peaceful day rolls by. Oh, that was cute. Woo! Oh? A loud yawn from Rose emanates from the couch. The droning of the television briefly overshadowed. The only other sound is the coffee pot bubbling away from the kitchen, punctuated by the occasional passing car. Only half awake and still acting on the autopilot, I lazily wipe the sleep from my eyes as I stagger toward the door. Smell of Rose's toast wafts invitingly through the air, making me envious of her later start to work. I let out a loud yawn before I can stifle it, causing Rose to look over from the couch. Oh, look at that tattoo. Heck yeah. That look, right there. I will have to say, good props on the development team. Like, that whole thing of, like, I am still fuzzy, blurry, and tired, walking through a space was cool. I love that. Oh, wow, you look like hell. Thank you. Stay up too late playing on your phone or something? Doesn't look like you got an hour of sleep. While Rose is less than tactful about this, it's true, I shouldn't be so tired. Usually a morning person, but right now I can barely remember where I even put my phone. Rose picks herself up from the couch as she finishes her breakfast, brushing toast crumbs off herself as she starts towards the kitchen. Just the neighbors being loud again. I'm surprised you didn't hear them. I may say that, but it's hardly any real shock. She sleeps like a log, which I've always been jealous about. Rose puts down the plate in her hand, giving the matter more thought than I'd intended. The ones above us, right? Man, I'm sick of them. I'll go have a talk to them later today and get them to knock it off. Making racket during the day is one thing, but the night's another. You don't have to do that. They might be quiet from now on anyway. No, they won't, Allison. She looks surprisingly disappointed at my attempts to wave off her concern. You have to stand up for yourself sometimes, Allison. Waiting for things to blow over ain't always gonna work. I like her. I like her a lot. I wind up rubbing my neck and avoiding outright answering. Apparently dropping the topic, she sighs and disappears into the kitchen after taking her plate again. I just don't want to cause a fuss, especially on my behalf. Is that really so bad? You kinda need to sometimes. With time rolling by, I glance about and see my phone on the counter of the table. Slipping into my coat pocket, I skip over and grab my bag sitting by the door. As I stretch a bit to try and wake myself up before facing the cold outside, Rose calls out from behind me. Turning to see her shows a fistful of crumpled dollar bills in the hand thrust out towards me. Here, go buy yourself an espresso or something on the way. It's fine, you don't have to. Just take it, you look awful. She really does have a way with words. I like her. I reluctantly take the cash and slip it into my pocket, thanking Rose as I leave. Yeah. As soon as I get out the door, the weather hits me. It looks like going to be a harsh winter this year. The cold of the snow dumping down, being made all the worse by the chilly fog hanging in the air. Twisting my head to and fro to bury it in my scarf a little better, I set off down the road with hands firmly lodged in my coat pockets. There doesn't seem to be many people around that are braving the weather, not that I blame them. As the muffled sound of snow under tires rings out, a garbage truck rumbles by. It's only after a worrying few seconds I remember I did indeed put the garbage out for collection yesterday. I love those moments. Good job, development team here, for like really immersing you in that world. And you can also just see the anxiety that surrounds Allison in both of those scenes. The anxiety of making a fuss, and the anxiety of, did I do the thing that I wanted to do? Did I remember that? And both of those just kind of build her character. I love that in just such subtle ways that are so human. Loving it. Reaching the campus, the welcome sight of a cafe nearly lifts my spirits. I've overheard students mention the coffee here is good, and it's conveniently right next to campus. Looks homey enough from the outside, and he only has a handful of people inside at this hour. As I peer through the windows, with a quick brush of fallen snow off my shoulders and back, I take a breath and walk in. The oak tree. A bell above the door rings out as I enter, the smell of coffee in the air, combining with the homely styling inside, making it for an immediately cozy atmosphere. Joining the couple people in line, I quickly rehearse the order in my mind to make sure I get it right. The barista's nice smile toward the other patrons keeps making me trip over myself. I've never been great with dealing with strangers. Coming to the front of the line, I manage to blurt out my order of a latte with sugar before I can mess it up. She smiles and takes my payment, leaving me to wait to the side as it's prepared. I briefly consider having it here, given how relaxing the cafe is. Oh, that's before I notice Caprice loudly talking with the tall man sitting across from her. I'm surprised I don't notice them. I must really be out of it. As the cute barista slides the cup towards me, I decide I'd better leave the two in peace and drink outside. Yep, before I can. Caprice. Not Patrice. Caprice catches sight of me and begins excitingly waving her hand in the air. Allie! Hey, Allie! Over here, Allie! Oh god. So much for that. Coffee in hand, I rarely walk over to the table and look from one to the other. Morning, Caprice. Wallace. Upon Caprice moving her backpack off the chair and placing it on the floor, I take a seat. Allison here is a good friend and one of the founding members of the art club. The new art club. This is Caprice's rodeo, so I'm content to let her deal with the club as she wants to at this point. It takes me a moment to realize she referred to me as a good friend in particular. We've only known each other for a couple of months since the semester started, but I'm a little glad she thinks of me like that. Hi, I'm some guy Caprice found. Adopted and brought along / kidnapped to this cafe and is holding me hostage. He's our 4th member. As he sighs forlornly, all I can offer is a stilted smile in response. Caprice looked so comfortable dealing with him that I assumed they knew each other already. Come to think of it, Caprice had no problem dealing with Aline either, despite barely knowing her. I'm impressed at how she can talk to strangers with just the same confidence as friends. Maybe she even considers him one already. So, what'd you get up over the weekend, Allie? Before we get on to that, one thing here, because obviously Caprice is the extrovert. If you are an introvert, you need to keep an eye out and be accepting of an extrovert who will adopt you. Because that's how you make groups of friends, is there is an extrovert who finds you, likes you, adopts you, and turns you into a bigger group. That's how it goes. And that's the only way that you connect friends. An introvert isn't going to be able to go out of their way to make a friend with another introvert. It's generally through this hub method of one extrovert who's like, I like you, and you, and you, and then puts you all together. Back to the scene. So what'd you do over the weekend, Allie? Just housework and errands. I'm surprised how much time I spent on that sort of thing now that I've moved out. I get what you mean. Thankfully, I split the work with my roommates. It's my roommate that makes me want to pick up the slack. Caprice looks to Wallace for his input, making him part of the conversation. See, there it is. I look after the family gun shop on the weekends. Nothing glamorous, but enough to get by on. Ooh, gun shop. Caprice continues on chatting, mostly with him. Wallace quietly nods along, adding a yeah and I see as needed. I get the distinct feeling he's being talked at more than being talked to. Wallace. Now that we're both sitting across from each other, I can fully appreciate how much of a bear the man is, cutting more of a foreboding figure thanks to his beard. I can already feel myself shrinking in response. For want to not stare at him, I turned to the coffee steaming away before him. A flat black with the lid taking off to let it cool faster. I could taste how bitter it is just by looking at it. Conversation is suddenly interrupted by the phone going off. Apparently Caprice's, as her hand dives into her front pocket of her hoodie and retrieves it. Wallace and I just look at each other as she wanders off a few steps to take the call, unsure exactly what to do with ourselves. It only takes a few seconds before she returns. Sorry guys, gotta go. Roommates need me. Wait. I'll see you two around. We've got so much more to discuss. Okay. Cody manifests. With that, she grabs her backpack and skips out into the winter air without another word. Oh my god. Thanks, Caprice. Going by her face, I'm more worried about this than she is. Left alone with Wallace, I sip my coffee for something to do, glancing in his direction. He looks more relieved than anything. She means well. I know she does. Even if Aline doesn't think so. I just have to keep telling myself that. And now I'm glad I didn't say that. Much as I would like to leap to her defense, she is pushing this awfully hard. If he's trying to start the conversation, I feel I should at least try to reciprocate rather than let him twist in the wind. So, you and Aline know each other? He gives a nod, after taking a long sip of his coffee. That must be so awfully bitter. We're friends, met when she was a freshman in high school. Caprice saw us together and made the connection. Oh. She's filled me in on the club business. I'm going to guess you were pulled into it. Something like that. It kinda spiraled out of control. Sorry. Well, simply shrugs. Not the first times clubs have been pushy about scouting members. I was actually thinking the whole thing might be good for Aline. Her single-mindedness is her best and worst trait, really. I don't want to say, please put up with Aline, but I'm having trouble working out a better way to say that. She isn't a bad person, just driven. I'm sure you know someone similar. I do shudder what her reaction would be to being told she and Caprice are similar in any way. I'm still not sure about dealing with her, but it's hard to deny someone worried about their friend. Paul seems to be content that he's managed to get his point across. Silence hanging in the air as he thoughtfully sips his coffee. Reminds me that I should drink my own before it gets too cold as well. The weather outside is a harsh contrast to the nice atmosphere in here, which might be why more students are starting to file in before classes start. The coffee's nice as well, so maybe I'll make this a regular spot, if I can afford to, that is. As for my companion, I think I'm starting to see him in a better way. He's just concerned about his friend. Maybe he's the gentle giant type, who isn't that threatening at all. No, he looks almost like just the artsy type. But that's me. With his cup empty as he sets it down, Wallace sits back to savor the last of its taste. Well, I've said my piece. Caprice will probably give up on me, but you and Aline are another matter. Caprice is a good friend. I can handle her. It was nice meeting you, Wallace. I carefully repeat his name to try and engrave it in my memory. I have to, no doubt. I'd instantly forget it otherwise. He's perhaps overly hopeful when it comes to Caprice, though. Thanks, you seem nice, so hopefully Aline will ease off a bit. He levers himself out of the chair with a grunt. Everybody just grunts. Oh, the weight of life in this atmosphere. Taking a glance outside before grabbing a scarf and hat once more. Oh, you are a cutie! You are totally the artsy type. I could definitely see you, like, being a he/they and just being the nicest person and experimenting if you want to be non-binary or not. I could totally see that from you. Good luck with class. Thanks, you too. With that, he leaves the cafe while sliding past someone coming in, staggering through the terrible winter outside as he goes. If my next class is so soon, I'd better finish this coffee off quick. With that in mind, I concentrate on taking as big gulps as I can without looking unsightly. It's funny how one thing leads to another, though. It feels like snowballs begun to start rolling, meeting new and interesting people since I started here. It might have taken a couple of months, but maybe I can manage to find some new friends. Yeah, that's the spirit. Hey! With the weather turning worse and worse as the week went on, the library seemed as good a place to spend more time before having lunch. Fortunately, it looks like I wasn't the only one who had that idea. While the library here is bigger than my previous schools, it doesn't matter much when a large portion of the students are dumped inside. While my first choice would have been using one of the computers, it's obviously out of question. Worried about looking like a dork as I loiter around, I start walking slowly through the library. Thankfully, nobody pays much attention while I glance from side to side for an empty table or desk. The students who are actually studying seem to be outnumbered by those gasping with friends or catching up on sleep. It's only in the far corner of the room that I catch a familiar face, albeit not necessarily a welcome one. Oh. There we go. Aline sits hunched over a thick textbook, occasionally scribbling into a small notebook beside it as her finger stops every so often on one important part or another. It's hard to tell if she's annoyed or just studying hard. Consider leaving Aline to her studying and brave the weather outside before she rubs her temple and looks down mournfully at her notebook. That pose is all too familiar for any student. Feel a little bad for her, given the vending machine problems and how she wound up with Caprice stuck to her. She doesn't seem to be having very good luck. She might not be the friendliest person, but I could help her a bit. With Wallace's words weighing on my mind, I grimace and accept my fate as I begin walking to the otherwise empty table. She looks up and catches my eye as I come near, so I guess I'm committed to this now. Afternoon. My existence has been noted. I don't think that could sound any more perfunctory. Oh, ooh, clicked. Sorry about that. But at least she isn't shooing me away. Setting my bag beside my chair as I take a seat, I pull out my phone to check for any missed messages and switch it to silent before placing it on the table before me. Hi. Surprised you're not in the art room. I don't live there, you know. Wouldn't it be more private than here, though? She lets out a long, miserable groan as her head sinks. Hardly difficult to work out what that means. Caprice wouldn't stop bugging me to join her drawing for some stupid thing. What was it? I wasn't really listening. Christmas scenes or something. She barely was even listening to me as she tries to wave me off. Caprice is probably scuttling around the campus as we speak, hoping for me to join her as her drawing partner. What are you studying? Math. It's been kicking my ass, so I need to get my head around it for these stupid Gen Ed classes. Aline barely lifts her head up from the notebook as she speaks, looking over the table at her work. Various practice equations cover the notebook's page. I have to admit, I do admire Aline's drive. I was just going to pass some time in the library reading, but seeing her working away has made me feel a little guilty. You any good at this stuff? Math? Well, I ended up skipping the Gen Ed class thanks to my placement exams results. The answer you're looking for, Allison, is yes. Someone spent their time studying like a good little teacher's pet. Nothing like that. Math and science are easy enough, so I ended up coasting along. I need to learn how to study more now that I'm here. I don't even have to think of it. Aline's like, Aline's eyes narrow. Maybe she wasn't exaggerating about her skills after having such an easy time in high school. It's easy to forget I'm the odd one out here. Yeah. Of course, I'd put my foot in my mouth just as I was starting to break the ice with her. I mean, if you want, I could have you have a look at your work. She's hardly enthusiastic, but shrugs and moves herself a little out of the way. My curiosity's gotten the better of me. coming around the table and looking at the notebook from behind her. Take a gander at her notes so far. Okay. That is a curve. Y squared equals 2. I think E minus Y squared equals 2. At least this is easy to read, given her immaculate handwriting. The more I check over her notes, though, the more the corners of her mouth draw down. She's done a good job of showing her progress, and the first couple of questions covered expressions looking right at a glance. When it comes to polynomials, however, I hated polynomials, like Taylor polynomials. Ugh, so annoying. I went to Georgia Tech, actually, and I had done, luckily enough, I came from a rural school, and there was one AP class, and it was AP Calculus. I took AP Calculus and was able to skip Calculus 1 going into Georgia Tech, so I went straight into Calculus 2. However, the cutoff for knowledge of everything with calculus was expected to be higher than what was actually taught in the AP course, and to score well in the AP course. So Taylor polynomials was something they had already expected me to know, but I was never taught it, and I had no idea anything about it. So I had to learn it myself while also doing a concentrated Calculus 2, because they had Calculus 2 and linear algebra as 2 halves of a semester to do 2 full courseworks in a shortened period of time. It was absolutely miserable. I hated it. But I think that's the whole, essence of everything from my college experience. Don't let me, bring down the sadness here. However, the next 2 have odd leaps of logic, while the last meanders off into the wilderness. I realize I should say something to express how she's done so far, but the window of time to say something, even mildly positive to soften the blow, has long since passed. So it's like that, huh? You got some of it right. It didn't help. Polynomials do seem to trip a lot of people up, yes, so she isn't catastrophically bad at this. Still, considering this first semester of gen ed subjects is mostly reviewing what we did in high school, this isn't a promising start. Mind if I scribble on this a bit? Knock yourself out. I reach over to grab my pen from the other side of the table. Ooh, you mark up a lot there. Before hunching over her book and jotting down a couple notes. First up, few pointers to where the first 2 polynomials went awry before taking a parallel crack at the worst of them. Pausing for a moment halfway to check the logic of what I'm doing, I'm satisfied on the right track as I finish off. The results look about right. Aline flips over the textbook page on cue to check my answer, looking a little dubious as she does. Vindicated by the matching result, I feel a bit of relief at not making a fool of myself in front of her. At least one of us has a head for this stuff. Does it make more sense to you now? She takes a thorough look at my scribbles on her notebook, her eyebrows furrowed as she tries to pick up the reasoning. I can't help but glance between my notes and Aline's as she looks over them. If she didn't project an aura of wanting to be left alone all the time, just her looks and her style would probably attract people. Like me, Allison. I think so. You don't sound too sure. This is about as confident as I ever get with math, so don't worry. I'll have to repay you sometime. Taking it as a confirmation that my job is done, I return to my seat as Aline leans back in her chair. It's nothing really. You should ask your professor though, if you're not confident about doing polynomials. Needing to ask them doesn't mean that I want to. Given how frank she is, I guess this must be a matter of pride rather than shyness. Maybe that's where her stubbornness comes from. Why are you wasting your time here with me anyway? Don't you have some friends to do friend things with? I only really know you and Caprice. Met Wallace the other day, actually. So that brat was trying to drag him into the club too. Wallace may think it might be a good experience for her, but Aline's disdain for Caprice is going to be hard to overcome. Hearing my phone vibrating on the table, quickly pick it up to see who's messaged me. Quickly force myself to keep a poker face as the name comes into view. There we go. She must have given up on art. On art out of loneliness if Aline's avoiding her and I'm here. I'm not terribly hungry, but I should probably get at least a sandwich or something from the cafeteria before classes begin. Big news, Allie! Yay, 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 yay! Tell you later in bio! Yay, yay! Hey! We saw this before. Hey, wanna grab something at the cafeteria? Quickly typing in agreement to meet there. I locked the phone once more. Might go grab lunch. Wanna come? Sorry, actually ate. Thanks for the offer, though. She's already back to concentrating on her textbook as she mumbles the reply. It's probably for the best anyway. Giving a quiet farewell, I grab my bag and put my phone back inside. As I pull it over my shoulder, though, Aline looks up. By the way, I don't blame you for any of the stuff Caprice is pushing. You seem alright. So, I'm alright? Perhaps I should accept that as praise coming from her. Glad for our meeting having been somewhat successful, I wave goodbye and head out towards the cafeteria. Hey, cafeteria. Cafeteria is a little less full than the library. Stocks of food behind the counter already running low on all the usual student favorites. With the line for food moving quickly, I managed to grab the last set of sandwiches and move on. Scanning about, I notice Caprice sipping her juice and an empty tray before her. She sure eats fast. Glad for the company. Either way, I walk over and take a seat at her table. Hey Ellie, long time no see. We saw each other yesterday. How's everything going? How are your classes? Not too bad. It's all familiar enough right now. Not that everyone's doing as well as I am as I unpack my sandwich and begin to nibble. My thoughts turn to the woman in the library. Feel a little sorry for her. Aline's struggle reminding me that I have it easier than some at times. Then there's the matter of her and the club. Setting my foot back down, I decided to tackle this more directly than usual. If Aline can be so direct with others, then so can I. I was thinking, you meant for me to meet Aline last week, didn't you? She's fun, isn't she? Something like that painting of a girl in the water was really pretty. She's really good, huh? No wonder the other art club tried to grab her. About that, well, more about Aline. Not sure it's a good idea to be forcing people into this club. I know you're excited to get things started, but just because her art's good doesn't mean she wants to be in a club. You sound like you're not really into it yourself. She's sharper than I give her credit for. Caught off guard, I have to stop and think as she sips at the last of her juice. The sucking sound as she makes to get every last drop doesn't help. I can't say I'm enthusiastic about this. Aline's studying is exactly what I need to be doing, lest I waste my scholarship. On the other hand, Caprice is my only friend right now, and I do enjoy spending time with her. She puts her drink down with a satisfied breath. I know my answer. I can make time for it. She gives me a comically big sigh, missing my hesitation entirely. If this ends up only being between the couple of us, maybe it wouldn't be too bad, long as it's not a whole bunch of people getting involved. I want to do this for her sake as well, you know. Aline looks kinda lonely all by herself in that room. See, adopted by an extrovert. That's how that works. Huh? I hadn't considered that Caprice was coming at it from that angle. It makes me think a little better of her. What she says makes me reconsider Aline's actions in another light as well. I wonder how much of her reluctance around this isn't due to Caprice herself, but rather her feeling used by the other club for her art. Seeing that kind of talent makes you kind of envious, right? Well, I just drew a bit in high school for fun. I don't think I could ever manage something beautiful like that. We keep chatting, but Caprice's earlier words stick firmly in my mind. We may meet every school day and talk quite a bit, at least she does, but I realize just how little I really know her in spite of that. Maybe spending more time together wouldn't be so bad after all. Aw. Whoop. With time on the hands, thanks to the last class of the week finally being over, some quiet sketching would be a nice way to unwind. With that in mind, I make my way up to the art room. Studying would be a proper thing to do, but I'm just too burned out. Not this stubborn cold helps either. While most of the classes are winding down, the professors are aware that the looming holidays are a big distraction. Others have tried ramping up the workload to try and cover everything in their semester plans. I might be keeping up, plenty aren't. With my bag tucked under my arm, I give a sigh as I stagger along the snowy path to the arts building. It would be nice to feel like I'm doing more than treading water, in class and socially. Stepping into the arts building with its strung up decorations reminds me to look on the bright side. It's already the middle of November, so not long until Christmas and being back with my family. I'll be thankful to be back with them, even if the rest of the holiday period is a wash. Manage to angle around a chatting group of friends blocking the hallway, and start up the stairs without bothering them. Another small success. Oh, your anxiety there. I briefly wonder if Aline's in the art room. As I proceed along the second floor hallway, her paintings are always nice to see. But whether she thinks of me as just another plain pain like she views Caprice weighs on my mind. Opening the door to the quiet room, I can't say I'm surprised at the sight before me. Of course she's going to be here. Aline's eyes glance over as I gingerly shut the door behind me, ending up being the only acknowledgement of my presence at all before she goes right back to her work. Curiosity about what she's painting gets the better of me. Is it okay if I watch? Go ahead. Oh, this is cute. She hasn't bothered to look at me as she says it, but doesn't sound reluctant either. So I scoot over and sit myself on a table as quietly as I can. Aline's brush continues to flick to and fro as she works on the background. So Caprice is a no-show? She said she had to go do something with her roommates. Her shoulders slump as she sighs, relieved. Do you really hate her that much? Believe me, if I hated her, you'd know. I'm just glad to have some quiet. It's hard not to take that as a thinly veiled implication that I should be quiet as well. Wallace might not be wrong that Aline means well, but that doesn't make her any easier to talk to. Something on your mind? You're really good at this. It'd feel weird to say I've been talking about Elaine behind her back. Well, if I said it's true though, I'm impressed she can carry on a conversation while working. And I like how her painting's turning out. Thanks. Been doing it for a while. As a hobby? If everything works out, hopefully as a career artist or teacher, aiming for the latter. It does explain her persistence at working away to get better. Wanting to be a teacher though, she gives the feeling of a drill sergeant more than an art tutor. Tube's out. Aline gets up and places her supplies on the sill beside her, opening the cupboard and fiddling around a bit. Before long, she emerges with a new tube of crimson paint in hand. Rather than getting back to painting, after closing the door though, she instead turns to me. So what about you? Sorry? What are you doing once you escape this place? Oh, I don't really know. Still trying to figure that out. I feel like I failed a test as I trail off, but Aline doesn't seem worried. You're still young, and there's a good few courses to look into here. Just try your hand at whatever comes up until something grabs you. There are plenty of worse ways to spend your time in college. You're smart too, so you have that going for you. I awkwardly smile at the praise. I've never been good at knowing how to handle compliments. She may say that, but the fact that Aline's so set on a career, yet only seems to be around my age, rubs in my lack of direction. I'm still patting myself on the back for managing groceries. My parents always told me I could do whatever I set my mind to, but it was so easy to tread water for me that I never bothered trying to swim. Sounds like you have a nice family. I move to respond. The memory of them gives me a familiar pang of homesickness all over again. I might have found time to call Mom yesterday, but just isn't the same. You okay? Yeah, I miss them. Well, everyone here going through the same thing. You as well? I miss my sister, yeah. She's probably fine, but that doesn't make it easier. Mom and Dad too? To be honest, things have been easier between me and my folks since I moved out. Huh? It's hard to imagine being on such bad terms with my family that moving away was better. The best thing about Christmas would be the chance to see them again, but Aline doesn't seem particularly fussed about it at all. Leaving me to ponder, Aline goes back to her painting. I get the feeling she wouldn't be more gracious. She wouldn't be this gracious to Caprice, so she seems to think a little better of me at least. Just let me in here. Not boring you, am I? No, not at all. I like watching you paint. She pauses a moment before continuing. It's only for a second, but I sense a hesitation there. Did I say something wrong? The moment passes. As soon as it arrived, Aline's brush returning to the canvas. The other students appear to have left by now. The orange-stained room silent, save for her work. The building's just a little cold, but that's fine. As the minutes roll by, I end up watching her for a while as I swing my legs. I almost forgot I came here to actually draw, but that doesn't matter. Watching her paint slowly progress is more than enough. Every so often, she makes up a dab of paint and then on that wooden palette beside her. The side of a hip is traced out, the light bouncing off a waist shaded, and a flowing strand of hair detailed with a fine tip. I can't help but admire her ability to set a goal and then stay true to it, knowing exactly what she's working toward at this stage of her life. If only I had an ounce of that ambition Aline has. I might go to a cafe nearby to grab a coffee. I'll be back in a bit. Tired? Yeah. Sorry to distract you from your work. Glad for the company. Have fun. With that, I hop off the table and start toward the door. Oh, wait. Her voice stops me in my tracks just as I'm about to go. It'd be great if she decided to come as well. Could you grab me a coffee too? Espresso, straight? I'll give you some cash when you come back. So much for that. Okay. Where are we going now? Cafeteria hums away. Alright, well, we're gonna pause here. Doop. Alright. We're gonna pause here. This is very interesting, and we're getting to learn more about Aline. Also, Wallace is just really cute. I love just those gentle guys. They're so good. Okay. I love all of this so far. It's very interesting. I keep making these just comments all along because it gets me so excited. They do such a good job of pulling you in and going, hey, this is a human, here's these human characteristics that you just would relate to, that allows you to expand your knowledge of the character, but in a way that we all experience. Things that that make you feel the anxiety without having to say, I am very anxious about this. You can say it in different subtle ways, and they have done a fantastic job of it. Also, they're bringing up a lot of feelings from me, as you can tell. So, I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. I think they did a great job overall, and I can't wait to see more of this team. I might look up the developer a little bit more, see what else is available from them, because honestly, this is great. I love the storytelling, I love the pacing, I love the artwork, I love how they visualize things. So, come back, subscribe, do the things, do the stuff, poke the buttons. Yay! And with that, I love you all, and I'll see you next time. Bye!